He whispered, "Don't stop," while I was still touching him. The moment his body pressed against mine, something inside me shattered. It wasn't the lust I had expected. It was something deeper, darker. It was like every touch was digging through the layers of my broken soul, and I couldn't stop even if I tried. His whisper, soft, hot against my ear, "Don't stop," wasn't just permission, it was a command soaked in desperation. And I obeyed it, trembling. My hands explored every inch of him like I was tracing a map I had already memorized in my dreams, but the reality was much harder, heavier, hotter, and filled with pain. We weren't supposed to do this. Not here. Not now. But boundaries never mattered when emotions drowned logic, when the hunger for closeness overwhelmed the screams of reason. His lips devoured mine like he hadn't tasted love in years. My tears mixed with our kiss, salty, warm, and undeniable. I kissed back harder, sobbing quietly into his mouth, because love shouldn't feel like this. It shouldn't hurt this much. He lifted me, placed me down like I was made of fragile glass, and I let him. His breath was ragged, his heartbeat pounding like thunder against my chest, as if we were both being hunted by the truth we were trying to escape. My fingers slid under the fabric he was still clinging to, and I felt it. His need, his desperation, the way his body ached for mine. He whispered again, "Please don't stop," and I didn't. Not when I should have. Not when my heart begged me to pull back. It was supposed to be romantic. It was supposed to feel right. But instead it felt like punishment. Each thrust of his hips wasn't love. It was penance. He wasn't making love to me. He was trying to forget someone else. And I knew it. Every deep moan, every painful grip on my skin screamed that I was just a temporary distraction from a storm that had already wrecked him. And yet I let him use me. Because I thought maybe, just maybe, I could become the calm after his storm. But as the heat of our bodies intensified, so did the ache in my chest. He touched me like he loved me, but his eyes were closed. His mind somewhere else. Maybe with someone else. I kissed him harder, trying to draw his soul back to me. "Look at me," I begged, but he didn't. He just whispered again, "Don't stop," like I was the medicine keeping him alive. And that broke me. My legs trembled beneath him. The pain, physical and emotional, twisted into one overwhelming wave. I bled, but I didn't say a word. I cried, but he didn't notice. My body shook beneath his weight, and my heart shattered with every thrust. I wasn't just losing my innocence. I was losing myself, and still I didn't stop. His fingers dug into my back, and his hot breath burned against my neck. He whispered filthy words, ones that would have turned me on if my soul hadn't been bleeding. He told me how hot I was, how tight I felt, how badly he wanted to own me forever. And in another world, those words would have made me melt. But here they only made me cry harder. When he finally collapsed beside me, exhausted, breathless, he didn't say a word. He didn't kiss my forehead. He didn't hold me close. He just turned away, leaving me naked with my pain, bleeding onto the sheets, tears soaking the pillow. I curled into myself, clutching my chest as if I could hold the broken pieces of my heart together. But it was too late. The silence screamed louder than anything he had ever said. And I realized, I wasn't his love. I was his escape. And the moment he no longer needed to run, he would leave me behind, used and discarded. My breath caught in my throat as I remembered every red flag I had ignored, every time he pushed me away emotionally and pulled me close physically, every time I begged for his heart, but he only gave me his body. But I loved him. I loved him more than I loved myself. And that was my biggest mistake. I tried to sleep, but my body ached in places I didn't know could hurt. Between my legs, the pain throbbed, and I touched the blood that stained my thighs. It wasn't supposed to be like this. It wasn't supposed to bleed. I clutched the sheets and cried louder, but the world didn't care. He didn't care. The room felt like a cage, and I was the prisoner of a night I would never forget. Morning came too fast. Sunlight poured through the window like it was mocking me. I turned to him, hoping, praying for just one gentle look. But he was already dressed, scrolling through his phone like last night had meant nothing. My lips parted to say something, but the words choked in my throat. Instead I stood up, legs wobbling, and walked to the bathroom. I stared at my reflection, eyes red, neck bruised, lips swollen, body sore. And I hated what I saw. I had become a girl I never thought I'd be. The girl who gives her all and receives nothing in return. The girl who lets a man crush her and still stays, hoping he'll change. Later, when I finally found the courage to speak, I asked him what last night meant. He didn't even flinch. He just said, "It was what it was. Don't overthink it." Those words killed me more than the sex ever could. I walked away, knees weak, blood still dripping between my thighs, heart in pieces, soul hollowed out. But a voice in my head whispered, "You're stronger than this." I didn't believe it then. Not yet. But I wanted to. I needed to. He called later that day not to apologize, but to ask if we could do it again. And I said yes. Because I was still addicted to the way he made me feel when he pretended to love me. But what he didn't know was that the girl he broke last night was already dying. And the woman I would become would rise from that death, with fire in her veins, revenge in her heart, and a plan to make him feel every ounce of the pain he gave me. Because next time I wouldn't just give him my body. I'd take everything from him, starting with his peace. And that's when the real story begins. The second time he touched me, I thought maybe the pain would feel different, less brutal, less soul-crushing. But I was wrong. The moment his lips returned to my skin, all the memories of the first night came flooding back. The bruises on my heart hadn't healed. The blood between my legs from the last time had barely dried. And yet I said yes again. Not because I wanted him, but because I needed closure. Or maybe revenge. Maybe I just wanted to feel something other than hollow. His hands were the same, strong, rough, unapologetic. His voice still whispered dirty things against my skin, commanding me to touch him, kiss him, ride him like he was all I'd ever wanted. But this time I wasn't drowning in love. This time I was watching him, memorizing everything, every thrust, every lie that leaked from his mouth, disguised as lust. Every cruel smirk when he saw me wince from pain and didn't stop. He liked that I bled. He liked that I cried. That made him feel powerful. And that truth was my turning point. I let him think I was weak. I moaned for him. I whispered back. I cried on his chest again, this time letting the tears fall with purpose. My body trembled not from passion, but from rage buried so deep that it had turned ice cold. He whispered, "You're mine," and I whispered back, "Yes," while my heart screamed not for long. Later I watched him sleep beside me, peaceful, unaware. The same hands that had held me down hours earlier now curled gently against his chest. I stared at them. Those hands. Those lips. That man. I had let him break me once. But never again. The next morning I disappeared. I didn't call. I didn't text. I went silent. And silence, I knew, was something he couldn't stand. He liked control. He liked knowing I would always come back. But this time I didn't. For days he chased. Old message. Even cried over voice notes. Saying he missed me. Saying he needed me. The man who once said, "Don't overthink it," was now begging for the girl he had destroyed. And I listened quietly, letting his guilt cook slowly in his chest like poison. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I let weeks pass before I returned, wearing the red dress he once said made him want to sin. He opened the door with wide eyes, shocked, aroused, confused. I smiled like nothing had happened and kissed him like I'd forgiven everything. And just like before, his body folded into mine, desperate and weak. This time I led everything. I told him how to touch me. I told him how to beg. I told him to say every filthy word he once whispered without care. And when his body shook beneath mine, when he screamed for release, I leaned down and whispered, "This is the last time." He froze, pulled away. The blood had returned, but this time it wasn't from him taking something. I had left it there on purpose. planted trail. A scarlet signature. A reminder that the girl he broke had risen again. Stronger, colder, and calculated. He didn't know I had been recording everything. Every time he begged. Every time he threatened. Every bruise. Every audio of his voice commanding me to take pain, to keep bleeding, to keep crying during sex. I had it all. I had the weapon he never expected me to build. And I was going to use it. What followed was a storm. I exposed everything. Not with screaming. Not with chaos. But with calm precision. One email to the people who respected him most. One drop of truth into his perfect little world. Screenshots, voice notes, photographs. He was the predator. And I was the prey who had turned. He called me that night screaming, threatening, then begging, pleading. He cried like a child who had lost his favorite toy. But I was no longer that girl. I was no longer his anything. I listened to him break the way I had broken. I heard the sobs that once fell from my mouth now echoing from his. But I didn't flinch. I didn't feel sorry. Felt free. Because the pain he gave me, the bleeding, the sobbing, the confusion, the humiliation, it wasn't just a mistake. It was abuse dressed as passion. It was control masquerading as love. And I had swallowed it all. Until I exploded. People turned on him. His circle fell apart. His fake charm couldn't protect him now. No one wanted to be near a man accused of what I had revealed. He tried to lie. To paint me as crazy. But I had the truth. And the truth made people listen. But still that didn't heal me. Because deep down I still remembered how I looked in the mirror that first morning. Naked, bleeding, shaking. I remembered how I begged silently for love in the middle of sex and received nothing. I remembered the pain. And pain doesn't vanish just because revenge tastes sweet. So I began to rebuild. I saw a therapist. I started to write again. I joined women's groups. I spoke. Cried. I healed. I let myself feel everything I had buried for so long. I met others who had stories like mine. Some worse. Some less. But all real. All hurting. And together we began to rise. And then one day months later I saw him again. Not in person but in a news article. Former entrepreneur accused of sexual misconduct, emotional manipulation, and harassment speaks out after career collapse. There was a photo of him, sitting alone, thinner, older, broken. He looked nothing like the man who once whispered, "Don't stop," as he crushed my soul under his pleasure. He looked like a man who had finally seen what he truly was. And for the first time I didn't feel anger. Felt nothing. No hate. No joy. No satisfaction. Just peace. Because I had survived him. And surviving someone who tried to destroy you is the loudest kind of victory. He thought he broke me. But he built me. He gave me fire. He gave me voice. He gave me the kind of pain that turns women into warriors. And now, I don't whisper back. Now I write my truth. Now I help others whisper their own. And that will always be louder than any moan he ever forced from my lips. The end.